the shadows, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going through. It's down low, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going.
Hey, welcome back TPL Nation. I got another draft analysis video for you, and this time we're doing the Buckingham Brelooms, coached by Brazo, and I'm super excited to get into this team. It's very threatening, to be honest with you. So as we start off, we have the Dragapult. He made a really good trade for this Dragapult, and I feel like it's going to not let him down. So I do like the weakness policy set for Dragapult. It can run a few different things, of course. It can run Choice Specs, Choice Scarf. Scarf Dragapult is insane. It's going to outspeed a lot of Pokemon out here with 142 base speed. Really good Pokemon. 120 base attack, respectable 100 special attack. But I really like the mixed weakness policy set with Acrobatics, Dragon Darts, Flamethrower, and Shadow Ball. Just because it's kind of taking that weakness policy boost into account and letting Dragapult use both of its attacks and some of its best moves. Shadow Ball over something like Phantom Force, Flamethrower. I'm not even sure if it gets a physical fire type move. It might. But Flamethrower just here to hit like steel types. But Dragapult's really good. You guys know it's fast. It has a lot of things it can use. Draco Meteor, an awesome dragon type move on the special side. Dragon Pulse if you don't want to drop your special attack. Fire Blast, Flamethrower for steel types. Hydro Pump might be a cool tech in like rain teams or something like that. Outrage and Phantom Force, super strong. You got Psychic coverage with Psychic Fangs. But I mean, Dragapult just is a good Pokemon overall. I mean, its move pool isn't the best, but it's like super deep, and I feel like for like what it does, it's plenty. You have plenty of moves to choose from with like Scald, Shadow Ball, Sucker Punch, Thunderbolt. Definitely a great Pokemon. Even moves like U-Turn and Will-O-Wisp, just in case for like some, maybe some cheeky sets. You never know what this dude could run. But I feel like weakness policy is going to be really good because the rest of his team kind of, it really complements Dragapult. I actually took the time to look at this team a little bit more this time around. But yeah, Dragapult is going to do more of the same, I would imagine, like threatening to sweep people's teams, picking up KOs. It's a great revenge killer. I mean, if he just uses it for that, I mean, it's still a good Pokemon. And then we move on to Espeon, which I think is another really great Pokemon. I mean, if you're looking at these, the speed's 110, the special attack is 130. I can tell you right now, those stats are the same as Latios. So this Pokemon can hit extremely hard. I feel like Magic Bounce being a pretty good ability to bounce hazards back and other status effects right back at the opponent is pretty cool. So like load up a Choice Specs on it, and it's got enough coverage. My only problem with Espeon is that it really has a hard time smacking steel types. Like I was looking down through its coverage, and like I just don't see anything it could get to really hit a steel type hard. It doesn't get Focus Blast, it doesn't get Aura Sphere, any of that, so that could be an issue for it. But to be honest, I mean, that's why you bring 6 Pokemon, so you can pick up your Pokemon's weaknesses. And I feel like if your opponent doesn't have a steel type, like Espeon's a solid mon to just come in and click buttons, really. Pretty good Pokemon. Obviously we do have 2 Pokemon weak to both Ghost and Dark, but I feel like the rest of his draft kind of complements those Pokemon quite well. And then we move on to the next one, which could definitely get some sweeps in this season. We have Nihilego, and I do have the Power Meteor Beam set because I think that's really the best set for it. I mean, you could do like a fast Stealth Rocker. That's definitely a possibility. And like it does have really good moves that it could use in like Dazzling Gleam or Clear Smog. I did add Thunderbolt as a last move just to give it an option to hit steel types for neutral damage. which I do feel like Nihilego just kind of has a problem with steel types, but I mean it's okay because if you meteor beam into the steel type switch in, like it might not take a million damage, but then Nihilego goes up to +1, and it's like then it really just depends what steel type it was that can like take a thunderbolt. Like it's definitely a very threatening Pokemon. If you look at its stats here, we got 103 base speed, which is really good. We got 127 attack, which is very respectable, very, very respectable. Also, it has 109 HP and 131 SPDF, so it can actually soak up some SPDF hits too, it looks like. Maybe, you know, even if they are super effective, it can probably live one. I remember in the VGC tournament I just did, this thing was soaking up Muddy Waters pretty good for my opponent. And as we look down through, we do see it does get really good coverage in like Psychic, Psyshock, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, good utility in rocks and substitutes. So it does give him a rocker. He gets Toxic Spikes, Toxic Thunder Wave. So this thing can do a lot of things. I think whether it's going to be offensive or maybe like a special wall variant like support Pokemon, I think either one would be pretty good. It does get access to knockoff and corrosive gas to disrupt your opponent, get rid of items, but very solid Pokemon. Like I gotta say, like before I went into this I didn't really know what Nihilego did, but then when I was looking through its moveset I was like, yo, this thing is kind of crazy, because obviously you think of Nihilego, you think of Meteor Beam, but honestly, it doesn't just have to do the Meteor Beam set. So, like, I feel like that's an overall plus for Nihilego because it's real versatile, and we know that's what you need in Draft League. So we move on to Heracross, and I think Heracross was an awesome pickup for this team, just because we've seen, other than the Flamethrower on Dragapult in like the last 3 Pokemon, this team like has a iffy matchup with steel types, but Heracross does not care about a steel type. And I think a set that we didn't really see come out this last season is one of my favorite sets, the Choice Scarf Moxie, because if you're like in mid or late game and you keep Heracross in the back with Choice Scarf, dude, this thing hits incredibly hard. We go Adamant Nature, but obviously you can change that. But with moves like Close Combat, Mega Horn, Knockoff, and Earthquake, like any of these moves could clean up the last 2 or 3 Pokemon that your opponent has quite easily. Heracross being able to hit super hard. It has the same attack and speed as Sock with 85 and 125. So this Pokemon can hit insanely hard if it needs to. But that's not all Heracross can do. I mean, it does have Bulk Up. You could run something like that. You could run a Guts Flame Orb set with Facade. Really good set, especially if you need something to like combat like Toxic Spikes or something like that. Dude, just switch in, get your Toxic, get that Guts boost, and then all of a sudden start slapping stuff really hard. It's got really good coverage in something like Shadow Claw, Stone Edges right there. Like, it gets really good coverage. It's got Sub and Swords Dance, 2 really good moves. I feel like Swords Dance would probably be used more. It does have Aerial Ace for that Dynamax option if you did want to Dynamax a Heracross, so that's definitely a good Pokemon interchangeable with Dragapult there to really say, well, maybe I want Dragapult as like a Choice Scarfer to like outspeed any Scarf my opponent has, and chances are Dragapult would definitely do that for you. And you still have a really good Dynamax Pokemon in Heracross if you need it. But yeah, Heracross getting some really good moves. I feel like it may not have the deepest move pool, but I feel like for what it gets, that's more than enough. It's the same with Espeon. To be honest, it's more than enough. I really love Heracross because not a lot of things switch into this thing. It's really hard. I've tried to plan around this Pokemon in the past, and in most of those cases, it's just a super hard Pokemon to switch in because of how hard it can hit. And if you don't know what set it is, Choice Band hits incredibly hard, but you can't risk just sending a Pokemon out thinking you'll outspeed, and then it'd be Choice Scarf, and then it smacks you. And once this thing goes to +1, you're going to find it really hard to stop this thing. Heracross hits like a truck, and if this thing comes in to like pick off an already weakened Pokemon to get a revenge kill, this thing can really snowball out of control even without a Dynamax. So I do really love this Pokemon, and I feel like it's kind of slept on, but I feel like the Buckingham Brelooms can definitely get this Pokemon the respect it deserves. As we move on to the next Pokemon, we see a more defensive take in Mantine, and I really like this Pokemon for them because it gives them another option to maybe switch in and weaken Steel types. I do like that. You know, a lot of Steel types get rock coverage, but with something like Roost, you know, that could be mitigated. But when we see this Pokemon, it gives them a nice water immunity, which is pretty dope. It does give them a Swift Swimmer, but I doubt they'd really use it for that. But I feel like Roost, Toxic, and Hurricane to complement Scald is like really good for this Pokemon. It's really hard to bring down. It can be super annoying. You know, if you want, you can get the Hurricane out there and run like Air Slash, like if you just want to chip things. But Hurricane for damage could be good, especially if you're facing a rain team. It does get decent coverage, so it gets Blizzard. You know, there's not really too many things it might want to use instead, but it does have options. I mean, you have Gunk Shot in case you run into something that's really weak to poison. You never know what a niche Pokemon this could be. It does have Haze, so could work very good. Probably just about as annoying as Toxapex with stuff like that. Ice Beam's a pretty good coverage move. Hydro Pump if you just want to hit hard and not worry about Scald. You know, it does get some pretty interesting moves here as we scroll down. Tailwind for support, that's really good. I feel like on this man's team that might actually be, and yeah, that's very dangerous because you're doubling the speed of something like a Choice Band Moxie Heracross. Oh boy, that's not good, Chief. And then as we move down, it does have a few things like maybe Amnesia. Might see that come out, you never know. But not too much as we move down through here. Double Team could be very annoying on Mantine. I wonder if we'll see that come out. Icy Wind could be a nice tech to slow Pokemon down. Mirror Coat might be nice. Rain Dance to set up its own rain. Maybe there's some other things that could take advantage of rain on their team, but I kind of doubt it. But it could come up. Maybe if they're in a sun matchup and don't want to play in the sun, they can set up their own rain. And then as we move down, that's pretty much it for this Pokemon that I see. But I feel like for what it does, like in just this set, it's a very good, very, very good and bulky Pokemon. You know, so I feel like this Pokemon can serve them well. That Tailwind support, I feel like, could really play a role in this team being a very big issue. As well as we move on to the next player in this game, and it's going to be Rhyperior, and I feel like that's really good in just the ground and rock typing, you know, covering Mantine's 4x weakness to electric. I think that's pretty good. So Rhyperior reminds me a lot of Gigalith in that it has insane attack, not very good speed. You know, the special defense does lack, but HP is really good on it. It's got solid defense, you know, really good defense. But one thing that I like with Rhyperior over Gigalith is that Gigalith tends to just get walled by like grass and water types. There's really no way for it to break through. That's not the situation with Rhyperior here. It gets Thunder Punch as well as Ice Punch and Avalanche for hitting like grass and water types. So I feel like that's a hugely awesome thing it has going for it. It does get Reckless. I could definitely see that possibly coming out, but I do like Solid Rock just so it can tank hits a little bit better. You know, it does have 2 4x weaknesses in grass and water, so you know it might not want to stay in on those Pokemon, but if it has to just stay in, and if it knows it can live one hit, maybe a physical hit, then it can fire back with a Thunder Punch or an Avalanche and probably deal massive damage coming off that 140 base attack stat. Very strong Pokemon, very, very strong Pokemon. And as we move into the next Pokemon, you know, I originally didn't like this Pokemon on his team. However, I think I like this set that's on the screen right now. It's a Disruptive Rocky Helmet Intimidate set because I was thinking with Espeon and Dragapult on his team, he's probably going to be the target for a lot of knockoffs or dark type moves. And most dark type moves that I could see come out against Dragapult and Espeon would probably be physical. So Mawile gives him an Intimidator with Rocky Helmet to easily soak up knockoffs. It's not the best Pokemon with 50 HP and 85 defense, but I feel like if you run like knockoff to take items, taunt to stop bulky walls from recovering up, it gives them access to Stealth Rock, so they have another rocker that's really great. I think that's like their third one right now. Yeah, Nihilego, Rhyperior, and Mawile, if I'm counting all of them. And then I actually like Super Fang on it because Mawile is not a hard hitter. This is not Gen 6. It does not have a Mega. So, unfortunately, Mawile loses out on a lot of that power, but I feel like with something like Super Fang, it could really still cripple Pokemon to allow Heracross or Dragapult to come in after and just pick them off. So while Mawile might not be the best Pokemon on paper, I do think that it does have some niche options. And Mawile's coverage is insanely good. I mean, as we're just scrolling down, there's pretty much, you just pick your poison. There's everything in here. Like, I think you'd be really hard pressed to try to find something that wouldn't have to worry about any of these coverage moves. It pretty much has, a poison for every kind of day of the week. Counter could definitely be a great move. I could see with all these dragons running around, all these hard hitting dragons. Mawile is actually a great switch into stuff like that. Because I mean, if you think you're going to Dynamax with your Salamence and then Mawile switches in, it's going to get that Intimidate drop, and then if you fire off an Outrage, or a Dragon type move, guess what? It's just not going to affect it, and if you hit it with Airstream, it resists. So it probably is probably a 3-hit KO at the max, I would imagine. Obviously, Mawile not being the best, but I mean, if you're taking Salamence's attack down one stage and then running max defense, I mean, dude, that's an awesome set for me, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it functions really good as a rocker, a dark type soaker for Espeon and Dragapult, so he doesn't really have to worry about letting Heracross come in and soak up a knockoff maybe and just take up extra damage. So I do like Mawile, and I feel like it'd be a nice utility Pokemon for him, and I really hope we see something like this come out from the Mawile, because this could be very annoying, and Intimidate being such a good ability, and I feel like Intimidate paired with Rocky Helmet is just really good for checking physical threats. And then next up we have, last but definitely not least, we have Shiftry, and I really love this Pokemon. Like, yeah, it has mediocre stats all around. With only 80 base speed, it's unfortunate, but it can get the chlorophyll popping off. We could see maybe a Sunsetter come on his team, or this could be like an anti-sun team. Could definitely see that, because honestly, if you're thinking about a Venusaur in the sun, Heat Wave, sun boosted Heat Wave from Shiftry is gonna hurt. It really helps that it did get Heat Wave this gen, so it does have an answer for those steel types, which I think is really good for him. It does have Growth, which I think would be insane to like counter a Sun team, or maybe set up his own Sun with something, because Growth, since it's basically a weakness policy boost in the Sun, you're all of a sudden it makes this 90 base special attack and 100 base attack jump up to insane proportions, and really attributing this mix set as like a actual viable threat would knock off Heat Wave and Leaf Blade. And honestly, you don't even have to run Leaf Blade. If you know you're going to be in the sun, you can even run Solar Blade, and that's 125 base damage. Like, that's huge. But as you move down through Shifttree's moveset, it does get insane moves, an insane move pool. I mean, we see Air Slash right off the bat, Break, so some decent fighting coverage there. Dark Pulse, Energy Ball, and that's the thing with, like, it may not have amazing attack stats, but you can't really, when you go into a battle, you can't really just expect a physical or a special Shiftry. I feel like Explosion would definitely be a really cool tech. I didn't even know. Yo, drop it down in the comments if you knew the shift tree got explosion, because I did not know. I was today years old when I saw the shift tree learned explosion. That's ridiculous. It does get interesting tech and fake out. Giga Drain could be interesting. Hurricane, obviously, maybe on a rain team. Could really do some big damage. Leaf Storm's nice if you do want to commit to like that special attacking shift tree. It does get Nasty Plot. I remember one of the old techs for shift tree was the Nasty Plot special set. It does it can crank out some pretty good damage numbers. Shadow Ball, not bad. Seed Bomb, Rock Slide. So it does get really good coverage, I feel. Sucker Punch for priorities, always nice for your dark types. Synthesis, so that could help it out in the sun, but I doubt it would really come since Shift Tree is really not taking that many hits. Toxic and Whirlwind, just for some interesting tech there, I feel. As we move down through, we don't really see any more real good tech options. There is Endure, maybe if you wanted to run like an Endure Salix set to boost up Shift Tree's speed, just in case like you're in the late game, you have Shift Tree left, and the only thing stopping Shift Tree from cleaning up is maybe +1 speed, and you know your opponent doesn't have any priority. Yeah, dude, slap a Salic Berry on it, man. Why not? Grassy Glide, you know, maybe to take advantage of a terrain setter. That'd be pretty good. It could set up its own terrain, which could be interesting. Could. Icy Wind to slow down opponents. That's very interesting. As we move down through, Night Slash is nice. Psych Up could be interesting. Maybe run a Psych Up Shift Tree. That would be very interesting. Maybe Focus Sash, Psych Up, steal the opponent's boosts, and then run through them. That'd be interesting. It also gets self-destruct. What is Shift Tree? What's wrong with Shift Tree that just wants to blow itself up? I want to know. I want to know. It does get its own Sunny Day, so it could set that up for itself, which could be an interesting tech, honestly. If you just wanted to run Sunny Day over Growth, or maybe just take off, I'd probably say Knock Off, and just throw Sunny Day on it. It could be an interesting Sun Sweeper in its own right. But honestly, you guys told me I need to start rating teams a little bit lower. So this team could be very threatening, very good in the right hands. So even on the new scale, which I might put on the other scores at the end of this, like I think I'm going to lower the scores. I think I was a little bit too generous in my first 4 videos. However, you know, looking at this team, it's really rough because I want to give them a high rating because it's so powerful. I think on the new scale, I think I'm going to give it a 7.5, which is still insanely high. I really like this team, like really love this team. It's very threatening. It's got really good hyper offense, but at the same time, it's got some walls in the back with Mantine, Rhyperior, and Mawile that can really weaken your opponent's team, let your more offensive threat switch out. You know, so I really like this team, and that's pretty much going to be it for the Buckingham Brelooms. Good luck to them and their coach going forward this season. I know they are new, and it's nice to see that they do have the tools for success. So very interested to see what this team does, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. I've been AceTrainrRyan. Peace.
Desperately alone.